Hey everybody, I had a request to talk about the two-piece 1L, so I'm going to take this opportunity and do a bell talk episode on the 1L in general. So we'll jump right into it here. You can see I got four 1Ls sitting there, two pieces, and then two die-cast bells, and we'll kind of go through the two-piece in detail. I'll show you the insides. We'll take one apart, show you the insides. We'll take a new one apart, show you the insides, and then do a side-by-side comparisons. So, right off the bat, you can see that they're all sitting on a level table or a somewhat level table, and the feet on the two-piece 1Ls sit a little bit lower than the ones on the die-cast bells. So that means when if we kind of pick that up and try to hold it somewhat level, you can see you're probably sitting about that much shorter than a normal 1L when it's, or the newer 1Ls, when it's actually attached to the manifold. So maybe half an inch or so. Maybe not even that. Yeah, it's probably about half inch difference. That's because it's got to make up for all this extra stuff going on here. So what's really cool, or what I think is really cool about the two-piece 1Ls is they were the first sandcast bells made in a really long time. Sandcasting was a big thing in the 70s and maybe early 80s, not 100% sure about that. But I know in the 70s everything was sandcast. So it's been a minute since we've had some sandcast bells up until when these started being produced in 2005 or 2006. This is when they started coming out with the first gen K5 LLAs and K5 HLs. And that's what you'll see these on. So even though they were on a non-raised letter horn and they were still not considered a raised letter horn, these bells did actually have the very first raised letters on them. You can focus in there. Set air chime on each side. Focus. And then also, along with keeping the tradition of the sandcast bells were they had their numbers printed on both sides. Same with the two-piece 1Ls. They had their designation printed on both sides, so that's pretty cool that they kind of kept that tradition. And everything except for the back cap is sandcast. So the body of the bell and then the power chamber itself are sandcast. The back cap is a die-cast piece. Kind of would have been cool if they would have went with die-cast back caps, but they already were producing, or sandcast back caps, but they were already producing the die-cast ones, so they just stuck those on there. Pretty simple fix. So we'll open up one of these here. Already got everything loose, so I can do it one-handed here. Just bear with me. Probably should have left the bolts out, but oh well. We'll take a look inside the first produced 1Ls. What makes them unique. So, take that off. Take that off. So just at first glance you can see inside the throat, you can see the separation. Let me get some light on that. Maybe not. There you go. Now you can see the separation between the power chamber and the body of the bell. One thing that's noticeable right away is the much larger diffuser ring bolts. here is a normal, was it the 3/16 head? I think it's a 1/4 20. Yeah, it's 1/4 20 thread, the exact same as the back cap bolts. You can screw them right in there. Not 100% sure on all the thread measurements on these guys, but I know the heads are a 1/4 Allen to get those out. There's still 3 of them. Not too much has changed there. So we'll do a little bit of side-by-side here since I've got this one open. You can see the nozzle was beveled on the inside, has a beveled cut, and it's not terribly deep. That's probably about as deep as the non-raised letter standard 3s and standard 4s were. And then you come over to when they started producing the raised letter versions, they did a straight cut, flat cut all the way down to the bore, and we're running a little bit deeper now. Zoom, there we go. And you can see that that's maybe not quite half, maybe a little under half the distance that this is. And then you can really see that beveled edge, how they cut it down to the nozzle. So there's one difference. They did do the curved entry into the throat of the bell, just like on the newer ones. So we'll get our tool here. We'll run these out really quick. And these are, in general, just a much bigger bolt than the normal, or the not normal, the newer style diffuser ring bolts. Because these bolts are doing a lot more than just holding a diffuser ring, and they're actually holding the entire power chamber to the body of the bell. So they're working, that's why they're beefier, and that's why they're longer. We'll get a good side-by-side comparisons here, just so you can see how much bigger we're running there. This might actually be a same size. No, it's not the same size as back cap bolts. It's I honestly couldn't tell you what the thread is on that. It's bigger though. So now we got that off, we'll just pull our power chamber off like that. That's what's really cool about these, is how you're able to actually just have the power chamber in your hand and nothing else. Any other bells you can't do that with, so that's kind of cool. How about the diffuser ring? These diffuser rings have the bigger holes for the focus. Can we get, there we go. Got the bigger holes for the bigger bolts, and they are the lightweight ones, kind of like what you found in the 70s and 80s bells. So that's kind of interesting that they use the lighter weight ones. The heavy, all these heavier ones is what's like in the anything that's not sandcast, basically. I know some older 90s ran these lighter diffuser rings in them, but anyway, we'll get back to this. So you can see in the power chamber, you can see the where they machined, and then where it's still the natural untouched sand cast down inside the bottom of the power chamber. It's actually really deep. This this final, or this little trench in here, is pretty deep compared to what you normally see in a regular power chamber. And then the way they casted the area that the diffuser ring sits on is, I think that's exactly how they were in the older sandcast bells. Has that ridge that the whole ring sits on, unlike these that just have the feet and then they just attach to the feet and kind of hover on that. This one has that little platform, or that little cut all the way around for the diffuser ring to sit on. It's got the bigger holes. No threading in those holes because the bolts go right through and actually thread into the body of the bell. The face of it, the front face, you can really see the sand casting in the non-machined areas, and then of course where it's been machined, it just looks like a normal die cast piece. It has the air inlet. It's kind of interesting because it's almost kind of looks like a would that be a M-horn bolt and inlet kind of thing going on there. Kind of reminds me of M-horns. But yeah, you can see it's all sand cast, one piece, and then they did all their machine work in the areas that they had to, and then left it all natural in the areas that they could. And then it still has a vent. Still has the normal vent, just like you see on the bottoms of these guys here. That little vent hole. So that's enough with that. Now onto the body of the bell. So all of these that I have, they have cork gaskets. This one has like a black. This is cork, but it's black. I do have one. I can't remember if it's that one or the one that's on my early K5HL. One that's not black like this. You can actually just see the cork. It's kind of green around the edges, but I've only seen these in cork. I haven't seen any. I don't know if they made them in other like rubbers or anything else. I think I've seen them in other stuff, but I'm not 100% sure if I have or not. So now the body of the bell has the little plateau here where the whole power chamber attaches to. Has the inlet and then the 3 bolt holes, which are actually threaded because this is where the bolts finally grab into and seal it up. Unlike this, where it's all one piece and the bolts or the threads are tapped into the feet that hold the diffuser ring. Not really too much. Honestly, this whole part of it is exactly like your front face, your jet out of the front face there. That's pretty much all that part is, only not including the rest of the power chamber. And this is actually acting as part of the power chamber, where this completely flat, completely separate piece that is not acting as any part of the power chamber. It's just what the power chamber attaches to. All sand cast except for the machined area. And honestly, the body of the bell itself does not have a lot of machining into it. They did do some really rough, not clean grinding around the outer edge here. I'd imagine these are pretty gnarly when they come out of the cast. So that's why they kind of run a grinder around it or a sander and kind of knock some of that overcast off. You can see some of the old cast lines. You can see it right down the middle, kind of a half and half of how they make their molds. And then your only machined parts really on this are the bottom of the foot and then the area where the power chamber sits. Not a whole lot of parts to it, but it's still really cool. I love these 2-piece 1Ls. I got 3 of them. I think this one is going to be for another early K5HL that I'm building. And then this one came off of my early K5 LLA, which you guys will see in a later horn talk video. So just kind of have this as our example. So now we'll look at newer, this is a 2018 bell. And we'll kind of look at all three of these. So now, the reason why I'm opening up this one when I already have this one open is this one is a first run RL 1L. So right after they stopped producing these, this was the next in line. Now this looks like sandcast. It is not sandcast. This is a die-cast bell. When I had bought it, it had been media blasted, so it's a little rough on the exterior. So that's why it kind of throws off that look. But when you look at them really closely, you can see the difference. This is a lot more uniform, a lot more clean around the edges. They improved their grinding method to clean up any overcast. This is a lot more lower, a little bit flatter. You can kind of see the difference there. Get the flare out of the bell. And then, so yeah. So this is the very first run. Basically what we're looking at for first run here is the machining. You can see it's a straight line cut on the area where the back cap sits. We do have a more of a cross cut going on in the bore. You can see the tool that they were using looks like it was cutting two different directions. Then we'll open up this one. This one has not been media blasted, so here you can really see the difference in die cast versus sandcast. A lot more smoother, all except for where they do their grinding, where the mold line is when they first come out of the cast. So open that guy up. And then here, see if I can get a good shot at it. Their cutting is a little bit, I don't know, I don't really know if the cutting is any different at all in the bore, but our cutting on the outside here is a lot different. It's not straight line. You can see all the little circles that the bit, as the bit was traveling along here, versus like the straight line cut that you see on a lathe. This looks a little bit more CNC type deal. Actually, that is CNC. So yeah, I'll take this. Let's see, where's my tools here. Bear with me. We'll take this diffuser ring out, and then we'll compare the two side by side just so you guys can kind of see the differences. And we will dump that out. So yeah, not a whole lot of changes from first run to a 2018 run. Casting is actually a little bit messier on the inside of the power chamber on the newer bells. You can see how that's not perfectly flat. It's got a lot of ridges. Almost kind of looks like a surface of a planet or something along the lines of that. Where the first run, a lot smoother. So we'll get the diffuser rings here. So the diffuser rings are exactly the same size. They did a nice job at not changing the size of those. which is nice because my two-piece 1L that I have on my first gen K5HL was actually broken when I got it, so I ended up taking a newer diffuser ring and drilling out the holes to match the right size for the bigger bolt. So that was kind of nice that they really kept this stuff uniform. Try and line up the holes here so you can kind of see. The holes are absolutely perfect. They centered everything exactly the same. The only difference is it's a much bigger hole. Or I guess not a much bigger hole, just definitely bigger though. Because you can see the newer diffuser ring underneath it. You can see it's perfect. They did a pretty good job at keeping things uniform throughout the years. Keep things simple, which is really nice. You know, this is the heavier style. This is the lighter style. That's why these break a lot easier. A lot of the older 70s and 80s horns that have these lighter weight ones, I've taken a few apart that I had, and they were most of them were broken. Just within the process of being tightened, sitting in there for years, temperature changing and all that, the pressures that they are under when air is going through the power chamber, they tend to fail a lot, and I think that's why one of these that was in the 1L over there was broke. So there's just a real simple show and tell of the difference between the two-piece 1Ls and then the more modern single-piece die-cast 1Ls. And I don't have, it's hard to say that I like that one versus that one, or that one versus that one. It just goes along with the horns. I love new and old K5HLs and K5LLAs. They were each their own beast. The non-raised letter versions, you can't really compare them to. I mean, you can because it's the same horn, but they were definitely their own beasts. They had their own tone, their own sound. Yeah, they're basically the same horn and they kind of have the same tone, but the non-raised letter ones were way more mellow, lot lighter tone, where the new ones are really mean and beefy, which I love that too, but I definitely love the older early K5HLs and K5LLAs that had these two-piece 1Ls. I'll just kind of give you guys some more shots there, just so that way you guys can see every little bit of these. I can't really show down in there. You really see the mold lining there. It's pretty thick when it gets to the back side. So yeah, guys, I mean, oh, another thing, the inlet size is different on these. So when they first produced these, they were still doing the 2000s inlet hole size. Not sure the actual ID on these holes. I do have drill bits that match these, but I for the life of me can't think of it right now. But you compare that, it's a normal size hole, to the more modern 1Ls that have about twice the size of that, or maybe like half the size bigger. So that was another difference that they took. That's another reason why these two-piece 1Ls a little bit more mellow than these guys, because these guys are getting quite a bit of air. And it's one piece, so it's not, nothing is being dampered by a gasket. Because I'm sure the relationship between the power chamber and the body of the bell, you are going to get some type of dampening just because it's not all one piece compared to this guy, which is just gonna ring and sound pretty mean. But that's why I like the differences. I like the classy, and then I like the mean. For the times that they were made, beautiful sounding horns on both sides. So yeah, I'm not gonna bore you guys too much, but yeah, that's pretty much it on the two-piece 1L dissection, showing all the parts and pieces, and then comparing it to first run and brand new 1Ls. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment. Tell me if you guys want other Bell Talk episodes on certain things. More than happy to do requests if I have the parts. If I don't have the parts, then of course I can't do the request. But by all means, throw your requests at me and I'll do whatever I can. So till next time, everybody, take care.